You feel behind, and the numbers say otherwise. You feel financially stressed, and that's real. But here's what's strange. Most people who feel that way are actually doing better than average. 42% of Canadians say money is their number one source of stress, more than health and relationships. And yet, most of them are quietly ahead of the curve. Today, I'm breaking down 7 things you're doing well financially, even if it doesn't feel that way. I've worked with families for years, and the gap between how people feel about their finances and where they actually stand, that gap is the whole problem. Thing number 7 is the one nobody mentions. I want you to stay for that one. Stick with me. So let's start with the most overlooked sign of all. You pay your bills every month. I know that sounds too simple to count, but 1 in 3 Canadians run short on money before the end of the month. So if you're covering rent, utilities, and groceries without going into the red, you're already ahead of roughly 30% of this country. Now, here's why that never feels like a win. Your brain adapts to stability so fast it stops registering it as progress. That's the hedonic adaptation cycle we covered in a previous video. The relief of everything is paid disappears in about 48 hours, and your brain goes right back to scanning for problems. That pattern where your brain ignores good news is going to matter a lot when we get to signs 5 and 6.
Sign number 2, you own your home and your housing costs aren't swallowing your entire financial life. Let me be clear about something first. Owning a home doesn't automatically mean you're doing well. There's a real phenomenon called being house poor, where your mortgage and carrying costs eat so deep into your budget that you have nothing left to build anything else. So if that's where you are right now, this sign is something to watch, not celebrate yet. If you're renting right now, your version of this sign is different. It's simpler. Your housing costs leave you room to build something else. That's what matters here. Not ownership, room. But here's what the data shows for the majority of Canadian homeowners. Canadians under 40 have a home ownership rate below the national average. So if you own your home and your housing costs leave you room to breathe, every mortgage payment you make is functioning as a forced savings. Your brain processes it as a monthly cost, the math tracks it as a slow, automatic build.
In my experience working with families, I saw this confusion cause real paralysis. People building actual net worth through a mortgage believed they were drowning in debt. The label was wrong when they look at the math. Okay, real talk for a second. Sign 3 is the one I see people dismiss the most. You have a cushion, even a small one. Maybe it's $2,000, maybe it's $500. More than half of Canadians say they have nothing left after the bills to save or invest, and nearly 45% don't have an emergency fund that covers 3 months of expenses. If you have anything set aside, well, you're in the top half, not the comfortable half, the top half. $2,000 absorbs a broken windshield, or a vet bill, or a weekend off sick. Now, everything I just said about stability and cushions, there's one piece of the picture that most people completely misread. And once you see it, the stress around the world debt starts to look different.
Sign number 4, your debt is productive, not toxic. There's a version of debt that builds wealth and a version that destroys it. They're not the same thing, and the word debt doesn't help you tell them apart. In Canada right now, mortgage debt makes up 74% of total household debt. The average credit card balance per borrower, $4,681, sitting at close to 20% interest per year. So if your primary debt is your home and you're not carrying a revolving credit card balance from month to month, your debt picture looks nothing like the people who are actually struggling.
The word debt triggers the same emotional response in your brain whether you owe $400,000 on a house or $5,000 on a max credit card. Your brain doesn't distinguish, the math absolutely does. The type of debt matters more than the total amount of debt. That's the variable most finance content never names.
Sign number 5, your net worth is positive. Most people have never calculated it. So here's the exercise. Add up everything you own, your home's current value, your savings, your RRSP, your investments, then subtract everything you owe. If that number is positive, even by a small amount, you are ahead of the people who are underwater. The median net worth of a Canadian household is $519,000. But here's what that number doesn't show you. Most of that wealth is invisible in your daily life. It's locked in your home equity. It's sitting in your retirement account. And if you're not a homeowner yet, your TFSA or RRSP balance counts just as much. The principle is identical. Wealth your brain can see is still real wealth. You can't swipe it at the grocery store, so your brain doesn't count it as real money, but it absolutely is.
I need to stop here for a second because this is the part that changed something for me. Last year we had a rough stretch. The car needed about $1,200 of work and the tires needed replacing at the same time. Both things landed in the same month. I felt like we were losing ground. So I sat down and ran the actual numbers. Not how I felt about our finances, the numbers. And the gap between what I felt and where we actually stood, that's what this whole video is about. Because when you look at equity and retirement savings together, you see a number. And your day-to-day brain has no access to it. There's a name for this disconnect. It's called the invisible wealth effect. Liquid assets feel real. Illiquid assets might as well not exist emotionally, but they exist financially. Calculate your net worth once a year, not every month, once a year. See what's actually there. So, we covered the tangible signs. Bills, property, cushion, debt type, net worth. The last two are different. They are harder to see, and in my experience working with families, they tend to be the most meaningful of all. Sign number 6, you're saving something for retirement. $100 a month feels inadequate, maybe even embarrassing compared to what you see online. But over half of Canadians are so afraid of making the wrong financial decision that they don't make any. Over half the country paralyzed.
If you're putting any amount into an RRSP or a TFSA, you're ahead of everyone who hasn't started. $100 a month at 6% average return over 25 years becomes $69,000. And here's the thing about getting past the paralysis. One of the simplest tools is a pre-authorized automatic transfer. Even $25 a week moving automatically on payday removes the decision from the equation entirely. Your brain doesn't have to choose, it just happens.
All or nothing thinking is one of the most documented patterns in psychology. If the perfect plan isn't available, the brain defaults to doing nothing. Your imperfect $50 a month beats their perfect plan that never actually started. Sign number 7. And this is the one I promised you at the start. You absorbed a financial shock this year, and you're still here. Nearly half of Canadians were hit by unexpected expenses that hurt their financial situation in the past 12 months. A broken appliance, prescription costs that weren't planned for, a job disruption, car repairs out of nowhere. If you went through something like that and you're still standing, you've demonstrated something that no savings account balance can prove. You have real financial resilience. Here's something I noticed working with families, and it showed up in my own life too. When we go through a hard financial period, we hold onto the memory of the stress and the pressure. But we don't register that we got through it. We remember the hit, but we don't count the recovery as evidence of anything. That's not accurate. Getting through a financial shock without collapse is the hardest and most durable financial skill there is. And you already have it. If this landed for you, if you recognize yourself in 2 or 3 of these signs, subscribe. Every Wednesday, I break down another strategy for parents managing tight budgets. The financial stress you're feeling is real, but the story your brain is telling you about where you stand, that part needs a fact check. Keep living frugal, stay free.